When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
Some of you who've been watching my series have been probably wondering how it is that I do my base builds, and there was a request for me to show you guys exactly how we built the Porcupine base in our latest Base Day 1 series. So I thought I would take the time right now and just give you a quick how-to. So I spawned into basically a test world, and I'm out here in the desert just to make things easy because it's nice and flat. So ideally for your base location, you want to be someplace that is hopefully flat. If it's not, then it's not impossible to level it out. I mean, it's just a little bit easier for construction of this base for purposes that's flat. So basically have like all of our stuff here. Obviously I have dev mode on and all the cheats on because, well, it's just easy to demonstrate for you guys. So to start this base design out, what you're going to be building is the first level, obviously first. So the current base design that I have it as is a 6x6 grid. So the best way to do that, and it's split up 3 blocks in a gap. So put your one pillar down here, 1, 2, 3. Now 3 blocks over, again, 1, 2, 3, fourth one, pillar. 1, 2, 3, pillar. Alright, so at this point we've got, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 1 more to go. Alright. So on the first couple days when you're building this, just pay no attention to the mistake I made here. You're going to basically just kind of start off, you're going to do it as much as you can. So on the first Horde night, you may not have all this constructed. And again, I'm doing this in cobblestone for ease of just demonstration purposes, but if you notice in my video, I try to do as much as cobble as possible. Reason is simple, is it's obviously a nice little midway between concrete and steel, but it's also, if you make a mistake, it's not that hard to fix. So after you've got your pillars down, as far as your first row, you want to start with the second row, obviously. So once you get the first one down, it's pretty easy just to follow along. There we go. Couldn't seem to figure that out. Okay. Okay, so basically you've got your 2 rows of pillars down. And again, make sure that they are 3 blocks apart. That is important for this build, to make sure that that is done. Now, again, for the first Horde night, you're probably not going to have all of this done. And that's totally understandable. It's totally okay. You do as many of these boxes as you can. So then afterwards, you start building it up. Start off by doing 1. Now you could do 3. 3 of these shapes right here. Again, this is just the, hold on. I can't. It's just a pillar, 1 meter. Alright. So you can do it like that, and then you're going to top it off with this. Obviously, you're going to do that. Like so. Now that's a little bit on the high side. You don't have to do it that way if you so choose. If you want... Actually, make this really easy. There we go. You want to do... just 2 up and then the third is the top like that. You can do that as well. The difference is that... with this, I'd have to double check, but I think demolishers might be able to damage this level, possibly. So, what you do is just keep going. Okay, so again, like, that's just the first row. So this is going to be, like, tentative depending upon how much you can do up until your first Horde Night. Don't be afraid. If you're doing this build yourself, don't be afraid if you only get, like, you know, a 4x4 or a 3x3 done. Don't worry about it. Don't even think anything of it. It's not a big deal. You can always do the rest later. Alright. So that's basically like where all the pillars will lie. And again, if you only get 3 squares or 4 squares on your first Horde Night, you should be fine. In order to get through that Horde Night, you're probably just going to need some Molotov cocktails, pipe bombs. You can get those from quest rewards or anything like that, so no big deal. Hold on a second. Thank you. Flapping wings is starting to bug the shit out of me. And we're not doing any cutaway scenes in this one, bird, so you get a reprieve this time. Our pillars are done, so if we're looking at block count, it's a lot. I didn't do an exact count, but... So this is, you know, the skeleton of the whole thing. So anyways, I mean, obviously your build's not going to look the same when you're doing this. It's going to look probably, as I said, you're going to be completing squares as you go. So after you have gotten your pillars, time to put the main floor on. And for this, all we're doing is using just square blocks, just to kind of fill everything in. Okay. So, this is basically like, you know, 6x2 done. So, as I said, if you've got only like these 4 squares done your first Horde Night, no problem, you should be fine. Try to get as much done as you can, as wide of an area as possible. If you get this many done, you should be in pretty decent shape. Again, try to do as much as you can. You can start off with wood, or you can start off with cobble, whatever you so choose. So, let's just take a look at stability. That's a little trippy. Alright, let's just not face that. So as you can see here, this is a pretty stable structure. Excuse you. Dinner. You're interrupting me. Anyways. This is fairly stable right here. You don't really have to be too concerned. Now, you take out 1 pillar, or 2, or even 3, we're not in huge trouble yet. But hopefully they don't take out too much more than that. So now we're up to 4, 5, 6. Alright, so 7. Now, with everything restored. So basically what we determined is that if you have 7 pillars in a, basically like a large area, or rather an area that's kind of shared by most of everything else for stability purposes, you'll lose that area. It will collapse. So let's go back to stability for a second here. So let's say that you're doing your first Horde Night, and this is all you've managed to build. Alright, I mean, not ideal. They take out 1, okay, no problem. They take out another, alright, no problem there, okay. Starting to get a little hectic. They take out a 4th one, you're like, alright, you know what? Let me move a little bit deeper over here. Let's go to this side. And they do that one, and that one on the way. And then that one, and one more. But, at this point, you fought it off. It's dawn. 4 a.m., or rather, you finished all them off and there's no further damage. So, nothing has collapsed yet, and even if something does, you have other areas you can still fall back on. So you're in pretty good shape there. The one thing that we have not put in yet is the middle portion, because one thing you don't want to do is, no matter how many of these squares you build, you don't want to run the risk of falling through and falling down. Trust me, it's happened before, it's embarrassing, you don't want to do it, especially if you decide to play permadeath. So what you're going to do is, on the first night, you don't have to really worry on cops or anything spitting. So what you're going to do is, what I usually do is wooden bars. Now, if you want to upgrade to cobble immediately, feel free. I usually stick to wood just to start off. Get them in this configuration like this. So, you've put your bars in place, and as you can see, I'm leaving the middle one open. You're probably thinking, okay, what are you going to put there? Well, if you remember the base, we have a wooden hatch there. Problem is, though, is if you try to place it, what happens? Now, one thing you could do, if you wanted to, is you could do hatches... Oh, hold on. You could do hatches like that. But I don't really like those like that because it kind of interferes. Let me just take off this right here. I feel like it kind of gets in the way if I'm trying to aim down there or something like that, and I feel like it's more of a risk. So, but the thing is, though, is that you don't want to do that. So that's the issue right there. Is that if you put the hatch like that, although it doesn't need anything else, well, what happens is that then you're running into a situation where you could hit the hatch as you're trying to throw something down because you're kind of blocking yourself a little bit. So what I try to do is, let me get my cobble shapes here. What you're going to look for is sheets. Now you don't have to use this. You could use another block. You could use something like, actually, forget about that. Another good thing to do would be to use the pole. This is actually probably a better idea now that I think about it. Like that. See, the problem is that the hatch is a block, so it needs something to stick to while it's up here. And the problem is it doesn't have anything to stick to if there's no block up here because of the way that we have these bars configured. So by putting a block on one side, it could be any side, doesn't matter. As far as direction of the hatch is concerned, that also doesn't make a big difference. It makes no difference if you do it like that. Or in that direction. Whatever your preference is. Okay, so taking it up from before. So let's say that you're, after doing the hatches, you're on your first horde night here. Let's spawn in some Arlenes. Alright, they're gonna come through. Alright, we're just gonna pull them in a little bit. Now they're gonna start pounding over there? Okay. You're gonna aim at the center, you're gonna get your full bar. Then you're going to throw it down as the center and the possible as you can. If you do it at any kind of an angle, like I did this just now, you still run the risk. So, Molotov cocktails, although very good on the first Horde night, you want to try to aim down as straight as you can. And in the center of the hatch. Pipe bombs obviously work better. Those are easy. So we do that demonstration again. Alright, so here we are at another Horde night. Even if you accidentally hit the darn thing, worst case scenario, the pipe bomb will just kind of ricochet off something. But it's not gonna be like the Molotov. It's not gonna go off on top or something like that. Alright. Thank you for your patronage. Appreciate it. So what we're gonna do is now I'm just gonna finish this off, edit ahead here, and you'll see like just the finished. Oops, fell down. You'll see the finished, base design here. But before I go and basically edit to the end here, so you might be realizing like, hey, don't you have the this whole thing down here? Isn't this completely covered in blocks as well? And yeah, you're absolutely right, I do. So if later on you have a shovel, or if you're lucky enough to have an auger, you're going to want to reinforce the bottom here, but don't be afraid. You can dig under these pillars, one at a time like that. Not a big deal. So don't be afraid later on to finish the floor off, and then you can absolutely just fill it in. You don't have to worry about how long this will take you. It's not super duper important, especially for the early Horde nights. I can't talk. Horde night? Whatever I said. I don't know. It's not super duper important for this to be completed on the early Horde nights. I have to check. I think I didn't have this completed until like the third Horde night, or maybe even the fourth or something like that. So don't feel at all rushed to finish the floor. The most important part is getting the main structure up. So let me just finish this off here. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Alright, so now what we're looking at is basically the entire first floor, pretty much done. For simplicity's sake, I'm not going to do the rest of the hatches. You get the idea. You're going to put a block here, or whatever side you want, and then you can attach the hatch, alright? Sound good? Sound good. Okay. So for getting up and down, the one thing that you can do, obviously, is you can put a ladder. Now, when you're first starting off, that's going to be too high. That's just right. So, the good news is that zombies can't get up there with that one ladder. Let's not do 25. Let's do some friends here. Can they get up the ladder? Nope. Now, if they stack up occasionally, when they might be able to get up there, yeah. So basically, you're gonna make it your goal to try to get parkour up to, what is it? Yeah, level 2 here. So you get 1 meter higher. That way, you can kind of take off this one block here, and you can be even more protected. You can make this with the 1 meter higher, as far as parkour is concerned. So that way, you could feel a little extra sure. So now you've completed the first floor, you've got a ladder up, you've done a couple Horde nights on this, you're feeling pretty good. So for the time being, you probably have some storage on some of the middle blocks here. You have a workbench, you might even have some other stuff, and you're like, this is not really secure. Well, as you saw in my videos, I do a second floor. So what you want to do is, what I usually start is probably encompassing the innermost part. Now, for what block you want to use, kind of your choice. You can continue to do this shape if you want, like that. If you want to use a different pillar style, feel free. Nothing wrong with that at all. You can use the smaller one. Basically, whatever design choice you want to go with. Or if you want to use square, you can do that as well. Now for this floor, if you want to go a little bit higher, feel free. There's nothing wrong with that. You can make it another block beyond that if you want, or you can basically just try to end it like that and like that. So once you've gotten to the height that you want, and again, like, you can have freedom to choose here. Don't feel obligated like you have to do. But I mean, what I will tell you is that it is handy to have it so that at least when you have the maximum parkour, you're not bumping your head against the ceiling. So that's why I go a little bit higher if I can. So the only thing you want to do next is that, well, how do you get up? Well, you can do that in a couple different ways. You could actually just have a, if you want to just have a ladder on the outside of the area right here, you can do that. And you can ladder up. You could have a door here or something like that, or a hatch, whatever you so choose. Again, don't feel constrained just by what I'm doing. But what I chose to do, if you noticed in my build, what I did was I knocked out a couple of the blocks here and made them solid. And then what I decided to do was I put a staircase. Again, don't feel like you're obligated to do this. You don't have to. So what I did was I added this, in addition to the staircase, I add one more layer here, which, you know, you can do, you choose not to do. Kind of makes it a little bit more complete looking. So when you head up, it's a little bit more easy. It's a little bit easier. Also, you won't accidentally just fall off by going straight. So what you're going to do is you're going to complete the second floor. What I've done is all the way out. Now, could you do the entirety of the structure? Yeah, sure, if you really want to. There's nothing that says you can't do that. You could certainly do that. But again, for ease of this video, I'm just going to show what it looks like, just, you know, to do most of it. So what I've done was, in mine, is I've gotten to the edge of the room here and basically just put that. Let's just see, what did I do for the corners? I don't remember. I'm gonna have to figure this out. What block did I put in the corners, guys? Alright, so for the corner, you do this shape right here. Cube 1/2 inside corner. Matches up perfectly. Alright, so if you decide to use a ladder, what you can do is just put a door right there, if you so choose. That way you just get right down. Easy peasy. Now for the next area, or the next part, what I did was I used the trestle diamond. And just basically lined it on top of the blocks here, like so. Now for the corners, there's a few things you can do. You have options here if you want. I think what I did was I went with, let me just find it real quick. You do plate corner. Like that if you want. Or if you want to do the two-way the two-way pole corner, you can do that block as well. Either one works pretty good in my opinion. And you're going to be doing 2 levels of this right here. Alright, so for the stairway area, what you don't want to do is you don't want to put full blocks here, because it gets a little awkward going up. Here, let me just demonstrate. You could put those right there like that, but I just kind of feel like you're kind of hindered. So maybe what you could do is you could just do one right there like that. But then what I like to do is you could use plates. Makes it a little bit easier so you don't feel like you're kind of getting stuck on the way up or something like that. And again, same thing you're gonna do. You're gonna put the trestle shape up top here like this, all the way across. Not like that. Get out of there. Stop screwing up, Meredith. This is for posterity and educational purposes. Alright. Does that look so pretty, everyone? It's so adorable. I love it. Oh my god. Okay. So, I mean, as I said, like, this is kind of half of what the floor is. The other half is going to be over there. I'll show you what the finished looks like in a couple minutes. So, this is going to be your crafting floor. This is going to be where your generators are, your storage, and all your crafting. I like to put the crafting against the walls here. So, if you have various workbenches, let me just grab a couple. So maybe you want to put your workbenches kind of like this if you want. And then I kind of have mine spread out, so you could do however you want. Want to have your chemistry stations over here? Feel free. You know, there's no rhyme, there's no like set thing here where it says like, oh, you have to have it this way or something like that. It's basically whatever you want. I mean, I also had my storage in the center here. And you could do the same, or you can do your storage on the side, whatever have you. Again, there's really no specific set design that you have to use for your own specific like decor needs or like where you have to put storage or something like that. Nothing specific there. So the block that I was using for storage was the metal trussing 3D. So I was basically putting those down, and then really should have gotten this prepared better. Alright, so then what I was doing was I was putting my storage boxes on top, like so. Now you can do one layer if you want, you can do two on top if you want, however you want to do it. There's no set way. If you want to do storage boxes just on the floor without the decor, sure, feel free. Nothing says you can't do that. Basically, the world is your oyster, pretty much. But the one thing that I did do was, I think, pretty sure that I put solid blocks on top of this, like so, because the next level up is going to be the roof. So, just for posterity's sake, let's take a look at the stability. Alright, again, that building is just, you know, psychedelic right here. So, as you can see, the green is fantastic, and you can see it goes straight up here because what we have is stability all the way down to bedrock. It goes straight down. So, that's really fantastic, and even with the floor how it is, it's still looking pretty good. So stability is this is a really good stable base, which is fantastic. So you don't have to worry about that. But what you want to do is try and locate the pillars. See what I did not necessarily do that. So you want to use a few of these for your third floor. Again, you don't have to put a third floor in. You can choose not to if you want. Nothing says you have to. Actually, let's not put that in front of the storage. And my third floor is not extraordinarily stable, but it's pretty close. Alright, so for the roof, or rather the ceiling of this floor, you can use full blocks if you want. You can choose to do something else. I think I was using actually, what was it, 3/4 blocks, I believe, except for certain parts. So again, don't feel like you have to. I think I did that. And the only full blocks, here, let me, whoops. With the pillars, pretty much. So that way it looks like that. Again, just gives you a little bit more room. Make sure that these are not. Again, I'm not a big fan of floating things, so I like to have things look pretty solid. So to meet the roof, what I was doing, I'm pretty sure, did these blocks, but a different shape, of course. Or excuse me, not different shape, different rotation. Come on, Marith. Like that, and like that. That fits in perfectly. So now you pretty much got one corner here, so it gives you an example of just kind of like what it would look like on one corner. And you do the whole thing the same pretty much around the entire structure. And now, if we take a look at stability, a little bit different. So you've got some nice reinforcement on the sides here, and this will look the same, but obviously you can see in the middle it's a little bit less stable. So what you want to do is, you want to have at least a few of these pillars probably on this part of the structure as well. So that's pretty much how you're going to design the third floor. So let me just finish this up here, and we'll get back to this in just a moment. Okay, so we've basically filled in the entirety of what would be the second floor here, just for demonstration purposes. So to get up to the third floor, you know, this is, again, you're choosing however you want to do it. If you want to have it so that there is a ladder right here and a hatch, do so. I think on my playthrough, what I've done is... Hold on a second. There we go. Can't remember anything. I'm a big fan of these spiral steps. Some of my friends hate it, so I like it. So I think I have like a set of these. And it's a little tricky to get it lined up necessarily, but just gotta do that. Just gotta rotate it once. Like that. Like I said, it's a little tricky. There we go. Now, if you're doing the 3/4 blocks, obviously I made a mistake right here. So if you're doing the 3/4 blocks for whatever reason, or if you want to do the full blocks, you want to do the full ones. Well, actually, I take it back. You probably still do the 3/4 blocks. I don't know what I'm talking about. Never mind. Then getting up is just simple as that. And there's your 3rd floor. So the one thing obviously you can't do is you can't put a block here. You're just going to obstruct yourself getting up. That's, again, if you so choose to use this method. Nothing says that you have to. I like these stairs. It adds a little decor, a little bit more of a variety as far as how it's concerned. And, I mean, I just get used to navigating it, and I say it adds a little style. I happen to like it. So that's basically the 3rd floor. You would fill in this entire thing, and then because these blocks are faced the way that they are, and I would assume you'd have more storage, right? Because of that, now you can put whatever you want on top here, and it'll be flush. Oops, a little too much there. Sorry. So you can put your farm plots up here. You can put whatever else you want up here. In my main playthrough, what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to build a sky garage. I'm going to probably build a landing pad up here or something like that. So that's basically the main structure. So you've got like your living quarters and crafting space and storage on the 2nd floor. 3rd floor, you can put up your crops and your dew collectors. And then your 1st floor here, this is your fighting floor. This is where all the action is going to take place. So the only thing that's left is to basically take care of this whole thing down here. So for that, just give me a few minutes. I'll kind of fill this in a little bit as best I can, and then we're going to just show the wall and the dart traps and a little bit of the wiring. So we'll get that done in just a moment here. So your first thing that you're going to be doing for electricity purposes is the first layer of blade traps. So now in my playthrough, I used a special block to mark the center. You don't have to, but as you can see there, now you understand the reason why we're doing the squares the shape we are. Basically 4x4 squares. This way a blade trap fits neatly right in the middle of each section. Not like that. There you go. Like that. Perfect. So basically, you're going to have this in every single one of these corridors. Now, can you put these without having the floor completed? Sure, of course. As you can see right there, there's no necessity. But for stability purposes, I like to just have it completed. So again, just for demonstration purposes, we're not going to do every single square here. Just trying to show you guys. Hold on a second. Let me. That is much clearer. So now you can see. It might be a little bit too bright, but I'll just turn off my helmet light. Okay, so that's better. So now as you can see here, You've got the blade traps all lined up perfectly. Wonderful. Perfect. Now the next area that I have done, just kind of clear this out a little bit. Now I call this, personally what I call this I call it the Skippy configuration. That's just my own little name for it. I learned this from Skippy0330. He doesn't create much anymore, but he used to. And I got inspired to do this by him. So this is kind of how he used to do blade traps. Hold on a second, let me just... There we go. So the way I have my base configured for future purposes is that I have it set like this. Okay, kind of like that. So you're going to build basically a channel around the outside here. The middle here is going to basically be, it's going to be plates. It's going to be configured like this. But you're not going to put one directly like that. You're going to put it down below like that. And then the last one here, you're going to use a solid block. At least that's what I do. Again, don't have to follow exactly. And as you can see, what the plan is on the main playthrough is to put more blade traps down here. So as you can see, they fit perfectly right there. So that's basically the idea right there, is to eventually use this channel as another source of blade traps, so that the zombies, what they'll do is, we're going to show you, I'll show you how the wall is built essentially. They're going to climb over the wall, they're going to come down, walk a few blocks, fall into the blade traps right here, jump up, and then, depending on where you're standing, try to go inwards a little bit more, and all the while, let me just put these down, this is a demonstration. If you remember, on the, whoops, on the main base, excuse me. I just realized I made a mistake on this. Alright, well, no big deal. I'm just sitting here kind of staring straight ahead. So I think in my main playthrough I made a mistake. This actually isn't here. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Let me do it the way technically it's supposed to look. My mistake, everyone. Sorry. It's my first building video. Give me a break. Okay, so this is really how it's supposed to look. Let me just kind of delete that here. Okay. Much better. Alright, so let's kind of reset that in a way. Let's do like that, and then like that. Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense. So, alright, as I was saying, before I made a mistake, this is obviously filled in right here. Now, if you want to, you can fill out the entire area with blocks. You don't have to. You can leave some ground if you want. Again, entirely up to you. So as I was just saying, before I made a huge mistake, zombies will come down off of the wall that will be shown here shortly. They'll fall down, blade trap, blade trap, blade trap. They'll jump up. They'll probably, hopefully, try to go to one of these pillars right here to hurt it, and then they'll stand here and, oh no, there's a dart trap aiming right at me right here. And I'll show you how that's done. So they're going to be trigger plates, as you've seen, on all these pillars. And they'll be tied up to a dart trap. So let me just kind of show you quickly. What I'll do is I'll put this together and show you a sample of what the wall would look like that you would be putting around the outside. Okay. So to start, you're gonna just put a basic block down. You'll put like basically a ring around the entire perimeter, and you're gonna set a dart trap on top of there. And you want it to be at this level. You don't want it to put it below. You want it to be at face level, because if it's not, I'm pretty sure there's a possibility that. Sorry, let me just get this out of the way. That the blade traps here will actually block the darts. So you want them to be at that level. And you can do it every other. So as basically, as soon as you get the rhythm down, it's actually really easy. So as soon as you get the first one lined up, all you have to do is come around here. As long as it's facing this way, that's fine. You're gonna do dart trap, block. Just kind of extend this out a little bit, just to give you an idea. Dart trap, then block, and just basically continue going. Okay. Basically keep going until you've run out of pillars. And as I said, it should be lined up exactly like so that the dart traps are, hold on, get that out of the way, are basically lined up with the sides of the pillars. Make sure you do this correctly, because to have to replace them is annoying. Also make sure you put land claim blocks down in case you do happen to make a mistake, that you can just pick these up rather than having to destroy them or anything like that. Alright, so now that you have the wall in place and you have your dart traps, the next thing you want to do is to build your ramp. So you can do a couple different things here. Again, don't feel obligated that you have to follow exactly what I do. If you want... Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay. If you want, you can place another block first, or you can go directly into your ramp. It doesn't make a difference either one. You can do either or. I think I went directly into my ramp. So for that, you're going to use the... Hold on. I keep forgetting. You're going to use the wedge 60 as the first block. And then the next one is the wedge tip 60. Like so. And then another one. Now for stability purposes, if you want, you can put some blocks like that. No problem whatsoever with doing that at all. A little extra stability is never going to hurt. So then you have a nice incline right there that's not too steep or anything like that, and it looks nice. So the zombies will again come over here, they'll fall down, blade trap, dart trap, dart trap. Alright, so for the power, I have mine set up in here. Again, you don't have to feel obligated to do so. If you want to put your power station underground or something like that, feel free. You don't have to. I have it set up so that my generators are basically in here, and I have relays on the ceiling here, but I basically have them protected. So if I have a relay, I'll just give you an example. So I might have a relay there like that. In order to protect it, what I've done is I've made plates around it. Like so. Like so. And like so. Protected from all sides, and then on top of that, I've actually put a hatch. That way, during Horde nights, your relays are protected, and if anything should hit it, hopefully it hits the hatch first or one of the blocks. So nothing to worry about there. So you've got your wall, you've got your trench. Now, here's the thing. This is a little bit different than the base design in the playthrough. I think the wall's a little bit closer. But whatever the distance is for the 3 blocks and the wall right here, make sure it's uniform all throughout. Make sure you measure. So what I like to do is I like to use just kind of your basic shapes before I start planting anything down. So like I didn't measure this out. Pretty sure this is not correct. I think this is probably too far out. But just measure it, make sure. So I see it's 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on. I can never do this right. So it's 7 blocks until the wall. Oh, actually, I did get it right. What do you know? Okay. So make sure it's uniform all the way across, and then what I'm going to show you right now is how to do the corners. For the corners, you're going to start off using the wedge 60 slope middle incline, like that. You're then going to switch. Again, this is how I have it set up. If you can figure out another method to do this, be my guest. But then you're going to use the wedge 60 slope tip, like that, and like that. Then you're going to go back to the slope middle incline. One like that, and one like that. Then you have the tip, fill in there, there, and there. And then you have this gap. To fill that, you're going to use the wedge 60 slope base incline. And as you can see, just rotate it, and it fits in perfectly. So there you go right there. Completely smooth, and it looks like it really just fits very well with the corner here. And you're going to do that with basically all 4 corners. So your base will... Basically, it's pretty aesthetically pleasing, as far as I'm concerned. So that's kind of like basically how the base is built as far as defenses are concerned. Now, of course, later on I added up some electrical trapped up top, some electric fences. You could do that however you want. I think the current episode shows like the most up-to-date version as far as well, of course it does. That shows like how I set them up, everything like that, so you want to make sure they're protected. But I haven't done the blade traps on the outside yet. And again, how you want to configure the power is up to you. The way I have it set up right now is my generators are right around here. And I forgot to mention this. When you're constructing the base, it's a good idea to leave yourself a couple of holes here with probably some ladders going up and down so that when you're wiring the relays, it'll be a lot easier. So if you say you have a generator right there, and you're wiring it, I mean, yeah, you could go down through here, and it's not a problem to hook up to that. But say you want to come down here. Oh, no, you can't get it. Hold on a second. Let me just put a relay up here, for example, just for illustration purposes. Now again, you can use a switch, you can not use a switch, up to you. This way, by creating some holes and falling through, I get tied up pretty easy that way. So this way, electricity is a lot easier. So do yourself a huge favor while you're building this. Leave a couple holes. You can put a hatch here or a ladder, whatever you so choose. And then basically cover them up later, but this will just make electricity a lot easier when you get going. So just to kind of go over here. Okay. So just basically to summarize this whole build. Your first priority, of course, when you're building this is to build the first floor. And again, you don't have to do, you're not going to be able to do every single square by the time the first Horde Night comes around. So if you end up only doing 9 squares and you have like a 3x3 configuration, you should be okay, especially with the first Horde Night. Use hatches in the middle here, the way it's configured with a block up top here to hold it. If you're using Molotov cocktails, make sure you're aiming straight down. Make sure you're also filling the bar full with the green bar before you toss it, or you'll light yourself on fire, and that's just bad. Continuing on, once you've done that, after the first Horde Night, continue to build and expand out, till you basically have all of the squares completed. After that's done, you want to start construction on the second floor. You're going to want to move all your crafting and everything like that up here. That way it's protected. You don't have to worry about anything getting destroyed, because as soon as the cops start coming and demolishers, they might end up just doing a lot of destruction down here. You don't want that to impact any of your crafting or any of your storage or anything like that, so that's why I have it up here. Once the second floor is complete, you can probably start concentrating on electricity. You should be able, by this time, to be able to have a generator or two up here. You can configure them and set relays up here if you would like, but make sure to protect them so that you can do relays. And then from there, you can grab them and just bring them straight down like that. And again, you can also do this through the hatches. Another use for the hatches right there. After you have the blade traps complete, and remember you're going to do a blade trap under each square here, so each square should have its own individual blade trap. Once these are all set up on every single square, you'll have a pretty formidable defense, but we're not done yet. After that, you're going to start crafting dart traps and 1x1 trigger plates, and what you're going to do is you're going to set up your dart traps in this wall right here like we showed you, and you're basically going to have it set up so that the darts will fire off. Now keep in mind, you want to make sure to protect these blade traps. Excuse me, dart traps. And what we discovered is that the block to use here is the security gate plate. That will protect it, but it'll also enable the dart traps to fire. So make sure to put those on top here, and then for on top of the dart trap itself. Now you can use a hatch, which is what I was doing. So when every time you want to fill up the dart trap, just bring the hatch up. Now you want to use iron hatches, of course, when you do that, but that way the dart traps are protected. Anyways, getting back to the build. So you're going to want to put your trigger plates here, covering basically all 4 sides of every single pillar, and you're going to cover all the squares. Now to keep in mind, this one dart trap can cover about 3 plates were, 3 or 4. You choose one side or the other. What you don't want to necessarily do is you don't want to have one dart trap obviously cover the whole thing, because otherwise what's the point of the dart traps on the other side? So basically choose. One side's going to use 4 pillars, the other one's going to use 3. Your choice, whichever you do it. What you're going to do is that you're going to bring your relay down. And you're going to start at the furthest trigger plate away. You're then going to take it to the next trigger plate in succession. From there to the next one. And then from the last one to the dart trap itself. This way, what'll happen is that whenever a zombie depresses on this trigger plate right here, any of those 3, it'll fire. And again, these are also being protected by the blade traps. After the wall is completed, after you have dart traps surrounding the entire thing, you can then consider putting in the electrical fence traps like I mentioned, or the blade traps in this trench here all around. Now, to power this, you're going to need a lot of generators. I haven't gotten to this point in my playthrough yet, but hopefully I will soon. What I might be doing is I might be putting the power for this underground. Haven't decided that yet, but... So that's the Porcupine base, that's the construction of it. Now obviously this is not the entire thing, but this is basically most of it. So what I'm going to show you right now is, for those of you that have been watching, I'll bring you to the completed version, or at least progress so far, in the actual playthrough. So let me just show you that real quick. Alright, so here we are in the main playthrough. This is the base day 1 series. As you can see, this is the completed base in all of its glory. So I haven't put in the blade traps on the outside ring yet, but that's something that we're going to be doing shortly. And as you can see, all of the trigger plates are in place, all the blade traps are in place. We also added some shotgun turrets as well. Not mandatory, but nothing wrong with a little extra firepower. So this is what the completed version looks like, and basically we're still concreting it up. For resources, it's going to take a lot to build this, I'm not going to lie. This is a very resource intensive base, but I like doing big bases because that just kind of keeps the playthrough going, and it's enjoyable. To always have a goal to build towards or to strive for, I think kind of makes the game a lot more fun, especially building. Now, you can do simple bases, but I kind of like to do things big, because if your base is done after like 2 days, then what are you really doing? Like, you're just running around, yeah, you're getting weapons and ammo, but if your base is one of those glitch bases, then it kind of feels like, well, what are you really building towards? The hordes seem relatively easy and you're cheesing it, so I like to do big. So I really sincerely hope that you found this information useful, and if you've decided to follow this base design along, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope it works out for you. If you have any comments on this base build, I'd love to hear your comments or suggestions, or if you think you have an improvement, please feel free. I'm not exactly the most pro when it comes to doing bases, but I'd love to hear your ideas if you have any. Alright, well, unfortunately my wife texted me, I got a little distracted, so my outro got a little screwed up, so here we go again. As I always say, make sure to leave that trader door closed, and hope to see all of you in the next episode of the series. And I think I'll do some more of these kinds of videos in the future, either tips or building tips or something like that. So hope you all enjoyed it. I will see you all in the next one.